My name's Cofino. I'm originally from New York, but I'm now living in LA. And I made a documentary, but I also do stuff for Cross Counter. I'm the creative director. Well, I am a graphic designer by trade, and I got into the community by making this documentary called I Got Next. So through making that in 2009 into 2010, I met a lot of awesome people in the community, and that was my first foray pretty much into kind of production, the production side of video production. And before that I was doing motion graphics, so I combined those two things and I got more and more involved in that. I really enjoyed that. So I was able to not only do that, but do that in fighting games. So doing kind of two things I loved and combining that. Well, I started doing graphics and motion design for Mike and Ryan for Cross Counter. We were doing like tutorials and event videos, but then over time I started getting more involved. I took over for Steve after he left. He was doing some other things at the time. Eventually, the show started. We started doing Cross Counter live at the stream.tv, and because I was doing more, I got more duties. I came on like completely as a creative director at that point. In 2007 in college, I was playing a lot of Third Strike, and at the time I was watching the Rambats over in California, and I just kind of got more and more involved in the scene. But it was really a documentary that got me kind of heavily invested, because I started meeting people and going to the major events. Like my first major event was NEC, Northeast Championships, which is run by Big E, and it's always like a really fun time. So through like going to these events, like kind of almost like forcing myself to get out there and film, that is how I got to the point where I was like, oh wow, this is like really awesome. Going to like more than just locals or just hanging out with people at college, but going to like where everyone is playing, all the best players are gathered, and making all these connections to where I was not filming. I was filming for the documentary, but then I would go past the point where I was done with the film. I was just hanging out. See, that's a tough one, because this was 2009, 2010, 2011. Yeah, this will be my fourth EVO now, and my favorite EVO moment is almost never something that's happened like on the main stage. It's usually, well, except that's tough. Like Justin Daigo was really amazing in 2009, but and Mike getting fourth was really important. But anyway, those are like personal like things that but besides that, it's usually things that happen outside of EVO, because EVO is for me, it's about the people that are gathered there, that you hang out with and that you meet. Friends that you haven't seen for a long time. Like especially now that I'm living in California and I was on the East Coast before and I have all these connections, I get to meet up again and reunite with all of these people I've met through the community and friends that I have for life now in Vegas, and we get to hang out. Okay, that's actually a really good question. I think there's a lot of room for growth in the community, because if you look at other areas, like broadcast television things, you can see how there are parallels and where we're headed and what's going on right now. So live streaming is something that is constantly being improved upon by people like Spooky and Haunts, Level Up. So there's definitely room for improvement, especially in the events too, and how big the events are getting, and the production of the events themselves. And beyond that, the shows, the content that the community is producing, and how the content is produced, how it's planned, how it's actually thought about and executed, and then how technically it's created, especially with the prevalence of prosumer, the prosumer market, DSLRs, lavaliers, things like this. So there's a really large market, and there's also like lots of growth for the community, especially with people that are interested in improving on the technical side of things and really growing the community, seeing growth in the community in terms of spreading information and also just entertaining others. Especially since we're so technically versed, just through getting other people to watch us play games and streams, and YouTube. It's we're way ahead of the field, almost so far ahead that it's a problem, if that makes sense. That's kind of confusing, but it's other people are kind of catching up to where we are, just in terms of our thought process for streaming and producing media online. My name's Ian Cofino. I'm originally from New York. Let me try that again.